Well, here we are, Mac of the Future live cast number 20. Um, Almost didn't happen tonight, and I will tell you why. Essentially, went to work yesterday as I normally do. I'd bought some bagels. Okay, bought some bagels the day before. Took them to work, and my routine is I'll have a bagel in the morning. That's my breakfast. So I prepared the bagel and went to take a bite. And when I did, shifted some of the food around in my mouth as you typically do when you're eating. And I felt my back molar, the crown that's on my back molar, pop off. And this has happened before, and I just go to the dentist and they reattach the crown. But when of course I still have food in my mouth, so it's disgusting. I'm putting my hand in my mouth and there's like half chewed up food. But I got the crown, but when I put my tongue back in the area, it felt like there was a lot more space than just a single tooth that had a crown. And when I went over to the bathroom to kind of open my mouth and take a look, I could see that it wasn't just that very back molar, but the molar that was right in front of it had also broken off. And I mean, almost all the way down to the gum line. So I got through that. And the weird thing was I was in absolutely no pain, and I'm still not in any pain now. So I let my boss know that I had some issues. And I actually hadn't gone to the dentist in a while, and I know that's really really bad. The dentist that I had, which was local here to the area that I live, I had been going to this office since 1985, 1986, a long long time. But the original dentist that I had, this Egyptian woman who was really really good, and I really liked her. She ended up having it was like carpal tunnel syndrome or something with her hands. And she ended up retiring, and she went back to Egypt. And for the next, I guess 20 plus, close to 30 years, um, I would pretty much just go in when I had scheduled appointments, and I would see whoever it was that was there. And I'd had a couple of crowns put on, and I'd done, this and that. I don't have the best teeth in the world, going back all the way back to when I was a kid. But I had been thinking about changing dentists for a really, really long time. And my wife had been going to the same dentist, I guess for 30 plus 40 years, something like that, long, long time. And this is the same dentist that she had taken both of our kids to, but I'd always stayed with the office that I'd been going to. Well, with all this going on, and the fact that I hadn't been to my dentist in a really really long time, and their office had moved, I decided, what, let's make a change. So I told my wife I wanted to start going to her dentist. And they knew me. I mean, I had been in there before, actually just before we got married. And by the way, August 29th will be our 25th wedding anniversary. So yay us. They had given us both a complimentary cleaning just before we got married 25, 25 years ago. So I contacted them, and they were like, sure, no problem, no problem. So I went in today and, filled out the paperwork. And because, of course, we all use the same insurance, that wasn't that big of a deal. And so they started looking, and I could tell right away, as soon as they started kind of poking around, that there wasn't going to be, any real good, happy news here. It wasn't a question of just reattaching a crown or doing that it was going to be kind of bad. So they did a regular cleaning, they took some x-rays, and then they dropped the bad news that the one tooth that had broken completely, there was no way to save it. It was going to have to be extracted. And they said that the tooth that had the crown had also broken. The stem that the crown goes onto had broken, and I can actually feel one of there are these little mounts that they put in to help keep the crown in place. I can feel that in my mouth. So I'm going to have both of these teeth extracted. Yay. And that's going to be next Monday. So that's what's going on. I'm not in any pain, which is good. I think that if I had been, that things would have been, obviously the levels would have been elevated to a point where something would have to have been done a lot sooner. So the 2 teeth will be extracted next Monday, and they'll make a determination on the best course of action to take after that. And I'm guessing they're probably going to do some surgery and put fake teeth in that area. I can't think of what they call that off the top of my head. Let's see. Who do we got here? We got at least 2 people. I thought we had 3 a minute ago. I guess someone got grossed out by my talking about my teeth. Cletus is here. You okay? Thought you went to the dentist. I did go to the dentist, Cletus. And the bagel was not toasted with cream cheese, just with butter. Frank Petrie gumming. Yes. And Jeff. Oh, Jeff, how do I say your name? Zedrenten? Is that right? I'm so bad with names, especially if I can't figure out how they're spelled. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, okay. Very funny, Jeff. I'm supposed to be like the big guy in Goonies. Yeah, that's what. Hey, you guys, with my messed up teeth. Yeah, that's so funny. Anyway, actually, it is kind of funny. Moving on from my teeth, a couple of tech things that have been going on here. I did a video and I posted it over at Mac to the Future. I was comparing a couple of microphones. The Heil PR40, which is my standard mic here. You can see that right here. And let me get it here. This is the Electro Voice N/D767A. And I gotta say, testing the Heil PR4, these are both dynamic microphones, which means that you have to have some kind of audio gear to plug these into. They're both XLR microphones and require quite a bit of gain as compared to condenser microphones, which have some built-in circuitry to boost themselves. But that also means that it boosts all the noise that goes on around you, which is why I prefer dynamic microphones, because I can set up my own. I say this like as if I'm an audio expert. Set up my own audio. But I was really impressed with this microphone, and I'm going to put it through a few more paces. I'm not going to replace my Heil PR40. For one thing, the Heil PR40 cost me a lot of money, and I would feel really, really bad if if I replaced it with one that was 1/3 the price. But if you're interested in audio, this is very, very similar to another microphone, who makes it? The SM58. Can't think of who makes it off the top of my head. Very, very famous microphone. But this microphone is about, I think I saw it listed for about $130, $140. And the Heil PR40 is like about $350. So, this is definitely a more expensive microphone. But for what I'm doing as far as podcasting goes, I very likely could have easily used this microphone instead and been very, very happy. And if anything ever happens to the Heil, then I'll certainly come back to it. And this will join my stable of traveling podcaster mics. But speaking of travel gear, I got one more thing that I bought last week off of eBay. Now, I have used PreSonus devices before, and the one thing that always kind of held me back on using Shure, thank you, Cletus, the Shure SM58, and that's not to say that the Electro Voice microphone is better than the Shure SM58. A lot of it, the thing about microphones, anyone who tries to tell you that, they'll hold up a microphone and say, this is the best microphone ever made, and it's the only one that people should be using, is frankly full of crap. Because just like with guitars, just like with really any musical instrument, the tools don't define the quality of what you're making. It's, the tools can only enhance or take away from what it is that you're trying to do. And some microphones work really, really well with people with lower pitched voices like me. I have a very deep voice. So the Heil PR40 works really, really well. The Electro Voice 767A works really, really well. But if somebody had a higher pitched voice, it may not sound as good. So there would be other microphones that they should use. And it would be a microphone that I personally would probably sound like garbage on. But again, you have to kind of scope these things out, get the best tools for what it is you're trying to do that's going to enhance what it is that you have. Ooh, let me move this down a little bit. There we go. Okay, but I was talking about the PreSonus. This is a piece of gear that I picked up off of eBay. It retails for about $200, and it's the AudioVox 44 VSL. It's got over here. It's got 4 XLR ports and multiple 1/4 inch inputs and outputs. Gain controls for each one of them, and it's supposed to, right out of the box, you connect up through USB, take that to your computer or hopefully even an iPad. I'm going to try it with an iPad as well. And if I have 3 or 4 microphones connected to this, in theory, I should get all 4 of those, assuming I had 4, all 4 of those onto separate tracks in a DAW, digital audio workstation, in theory. Most mixers, including the one that I'm using right now, which is a Behringer Xenix 1204 USB, blah, 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 blah. It's, I hate product names because they always sound like garbage. It's a nice mixer. Especially for the price range. It was like about $150. And it does everything that most people would want a mixer like this to do. However, it only puts out through USB 2 tracks, one stereo track, right and left channel. And there are, certain things you can do to kind of game that a little bit, but really you're limited to 2 tracks. So something I've wanted for a while is an audio interface that will allow me to multi-track out to individual channels, because that's the dream. That's the whole point. And the thing about multi-track audio, I know I'm getting completely off topic here, but the whole thing about multi-track audio is you've got 2 different microphones, or maybe 2 microphones and a guitar and a bass guitar and drums and however many instruments you have, if you're recording, you want all of these instruments to output two separate tracks. So when you're in post-production, after everything has been done, you can then turn around and make your adjustments to the vocal tracks or to the guitar tracks and add effects and or make it sound better or whatever it is that you want to do that you can't do if everything is jumbled together into two tracks, a right and left channel. You just can't do it. You can't separate all of the different pieces that you're going to get out of a two-track mixer. And there are mixers that will do multi-track, but you won't find them for $150 to $200. So, I will investigate this a little more, and we'll see if the PreSonus. Damn, what is this thing called again? The PreSonus 44 VSL. The 44 VSL. If that will make my job a little bit easier when I'm mobile, and that's the whole thing. I used that Alesis Multimix 4 when I went to Macstock, and it works really, really well. I was able to hook up my microphone. I was able to hook up a second microphone. I had Dave Hamilton for the Mac Geek Gab on there. But then we also had John F. Braun, and he had his microphone. Well, we could hook up his microphone to another channel going through USB, which is kind of what we did. And then we used Loopback from Rogue Amoeba to put them all together, and so that I could use them on separate tracks. But that's it's non-optimal because I've got two microphones that are coming in over XLR, which is going to have their own kind of sound, and then a third microphone, even though it's an identical microphone, it's coming in over USB, and it's going to have a slightly different sound than the other two microphones, even though all three of them were virtually identical. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do with that. And I wouldn't have bought the PreSonus unit at its full price, which is about $200. But for $99, I can go for that and experiment with a little bit. And even better, the PreSonus unit is lighter and it's smaller than the Alesis mixer. So there's that as well. A little less weight I got to put on my back. A couple things that I want to talk about before. Actually, let's go back here to the comments reel here. Cletus is talking about that there's a $250 mixer on sale at Amazon. Well, there's always mixers on sale, especially on Amazon. If you could let me know which one it is that you're talking about there, Cletus, we can talk about it here. But before we do that, I got two things I want to talk about. One I'm going to talk about right now, and the other one I'll talk about after the break. And the first thing I want to talk about is, Apple as a company went through some really, really rough times in the 90s. And there were a number of reasons why they were able to survive as a company. One of those reasons was Steve Jobs coming back and his forcing the company to focus more on the products that were actually making them money, to get rid of a lot of the cruft that the company had at the time, even for products that were considered sacred cows. He was like, nope, get rid of them. Like the Newton, gone. One of the first things that came out that helped to kind of save the company was the iMac, the original Bondi Blue iMac that introduced USB to the Macintosh. And it was the first probably all-in-one computer from Apple in a very, very long time that made sense, that combined a sense of style along with a sense of utility that they probably hadn't seen since the days of the old Pluses and SEs. But the next thing, and I would argue that this was more important than anything else that Apple had done, and that was the iPod, the original 5 gigabyte iPod, where you could have 1,000, think about that, 1,000 songs in your pocket. And there wasn't even iTunes at that point. It was just a music player, and it only worked with the Mac, and you had to have FireWire to make it operate, which meant that most Windows users couldn't do anything with it. Hey, we got a bunch of audio stuff coming up here, and we will talk about that when I come out of the next break, guys. But keep bringing that up in the chat, and it'll just be more fuel to the fire when we come back. And the reason, of course, why I'm bringing up the iPod is that last week, the last 2 iPods, not counting the iPod Touch, the last 2 iPods disappeared out of Apple's music store, and that was the iPod Nano and the iPod Shuffle. Both devices had probably long ago stopped really being a major factor with Apple. I mean, hell, they didn't even talk about them anymore when they had their financials. It was thrown into with all the others, the other stuff that Apple didn't necessarily want to go into great detail about. But the iPod and iTunes that came after it, I would say, were instrumental in resurrecting Apple as a company. Heck, they even went from calling themselves Apple Computer to just Apple Incorporated. They went from a computer company to a consumer electronics company. And that, a lot of people fussed about that, but it was really a good thing. It made Apple what they are today. It led the way for the products that Apple has become defined by. I don't think there would be an iPhone today if the iPod hadn't been a major hit for Apple. Would we even still be having a company that we would be talking about today if it wasn't for the success of the iPod? So it's kind of sad that the iPods have now gone away, the standalone music player. You can still, of course, get the iPod Touch, but that is an iOS device. It's not really the same thing. So to all the people who over the years, and I was one of them, who bought multiple iPods, thank you. You helped to save the company, in my opinion. And it's just kind of sad that you can no longer buy from Apple something as iconic as an iPod. And with that, I think we are going to take a little break. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about some of the audio stuff that people have thrown into the chat room. And we'll talk about the other topic that I have lined up. I have a feeling this is going to be a much longer show than I had originally planned. So everyone, hold on just a minute, and we'll be right back. Are you a new Mac user or an old hand? Wish you could know the ins and outs, keyboard shortcuts, or hidden tips and tricks to make you more efficient using your favorite computer? Hey, it's your lucky day, because Edward Eisen has written a great guide to knowing more about the Mac and the OS that it runs on. It's called This is the Light Side, and it's available through Apple's iBookstore or with Amazon. Better yet, it's not a stuffy old book that gathers dust on the shelf once the next operating system is released, because it's an ebook that you can look at any time you want. It won't get outdated because it's continuously being updated. Information on setting up your new Mac, installing and getting rid of applications, security settings and what to look out for, keyboard shortcuts, some basic app recommendations, how to use Windows on your Mac, if you really want to, that is, advanced topics, searching, using iCloud, and much more. All this for a mere 99 cents. Go to the iBookstore or Amazon and check out Edward Eisen's This is the Light Side. It's the book you want on your virtual shelf. Okay, we are back. A couple things came up in the chat room when I was talking about audio gear. Is audio gear something you guys want to talk about on like a regular basis? I love talking about it. If there are things that you have used, let me know. Hell, let's see if we can get some company to give me some stuff to try out. But however, speaking of that, as most of you know, I also do the My Mac podcast, and I do that with Gaz every single week. May not be doing it this week, but for reasons beyond my teeth, but that's a story for another day. Yeah. MyMac.com has been around since 1995. 1995, and it started as a digital magazine, and of course went on to become a website, a host of many great podcasts, including not just the My Mac podcast, Tech Fan, Three Geeky Ladies, the one that Bart does two of them, Apple. I'd have to have the website up. There's a lot of different podcasts that they host, and I can't think of what they are off the top of my head. That is so embarrassing. That's what happens as you get older. But primarily, it's still a website that is focused on Apple and Mac products. Well, they've got a problem. They don't have enough people to review all of the products that are coming in. And I've known Tim Robertson since 2001, 2002. And what he's not looking for is people to rubber stamp a 9 out of 10 on every single product that comes in, because not every single product that comes in for review is going to be a winning product. Some of them are crap. Well, if they're crap, say so. And it'll be there on the website to keep other people from buying something that is crap. So, if you would like to write for I say this every single week over at mymac.com, and I guess some people think that I'm kidding, but it really, really is the mighty, mighty mymac.com website. Please get a hold of John Nemo, and you can reach him at Nemo, Nemo, at mymac.com, and let's see if we can get you writing for mymac.com. That's how I got my start. That's how I started with all of this craziness that's going on here today, was writing for mymac.com. So if you have any writing skills and you're interested, contact John Nemo at mymac.com. Now, as far as some of the stuff that I'm seeing here coming up on the website, we've got Oliver Kafopi. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. Let me know. It's not on purpose. Oliver Kafopi has a link here to the Sennheiser AVX, which is a camera external shotgun microphone and wireless audio for video recording. I've tried these. I haven't tried this particular one. I have tried some other shotgun mics while doing video. Have not been too impressed with them. Of course, I've never had ones that were like, of super high quality either. We got David Ginsburg. Hey, Dave, what's going on, dude? Oliver also put in something here, the Telefunken U47, which I honestly, I know of this product. What I don't know is what it is. I know Frank Zappa for the Mothers of Invention actually wrote a song, and the Telefunken U47 was listed in there. And I'm going to hang on to this. I'm going to look up what the Telefunken U47 is. Soundscape, Cletus says Soundscape was the program Apple acquired and made iTunes. I thought that was SoundJam. Okay. Frank Petrie says that there was a great line on Law and Order. Holds 1,000 songs. You don't know 1,000 songs. SoundJam. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Okay. Yeah, you corrected yourself. All right. The second topic that I wanted to talk about this week, there was an announcement made regarding China, where China is telling Apple to remove all of the unapproved VPNs, virtual private network applications, from their app stores, and Apple complied. Now, does this make Apple a sellout, or is this Apple obeying local laws because otherwise they might not be allowed to sell products in China? Now, before you think about, before you just jump on your initial opinion on that, a couple of things to think about. China makes up nearly 30% of Apple's sales. And can Apple afford to take a stand on something that makes up that much of their sales for VPNs? Now, some of the comparisons that I've seen, I commented over there on the site, and I'm not going to tell you what the site is because the whole comparison was just so stupid. There was an incident in San Bernardino where two people killed a bunch of other people, 14, I think it was 14 or 15 people. And they themselves were killed. And there was an iPhone that was found amongst them. And the FBI got the iPhone, and they requested that Apple hack that iPhone because there was a 4-pin security code on it. Now, Apple refused to do so because, in essence, what the FBI wanted didn't seem to really be that much along the lines of the information that was on the phone. It seemed like what the FBI wanted was the ability to get into anyone's phone, anyone's iPhone that they had received using this tool that they wanted Apple to supply. Now, I've got a couple of issues. I got more than a couple of issues with that. Number one, drilling holes into your operating system as the company that created and maintains that operating system is probably not a good idea. Number two, to give the tool to do so to not just the U.S. government, but to any government agency Does that seem like a good idea to you? Does that seem like do you feel that you could trust a government? And let's just stay with the US government. Do you trust that the US government, number one, wouldn't use this for nefarious means, or two, that as a tool it wouldn't leak out into the hands of people other than who it was intended for? Now think about that for a second, because a lot of the exploits that we've heard about for Windows, for the Mac OS, for iOS, for Android, a lot of these tools came from government agencies, and those tools were discovered either through nefarious means themselves, or people on the inside released them thinking that, this was just wrong for these agencies to have tools like this. They don't remain secret. They don't remain secret. And eventually, all of these, yeah, I know, Cletus. Eventually, all of these tools that can be used to get access to any information you have on your phone, maybe even as you're using it, a lot of times without even having physical access to the phones, which is a whole nother thing. I think Apple made the right choice in refusing to supply that information to the US government. And I think that I would hope that they would take that same firm stance with China and Russia, which is also getting ready to ban VPNs. And we know why. We know why they're doing this. It's not up to Apple to tell another country what laws they will or will not obey. The choices are, they either don't comply and pull their products out, or they do comply and, in essence, kill whatever that product was, as far as drilling, as far as compromising the operating system. If Apple had given those tools to compromise the operating system to the US government, would anybody in Europe or the Middle East or Africa or Central South America, would they still be wanting to use an iPhone knowing that the US government had the tools available to hack into their phones? It's suicide for a company. Now, VPNs, on the other hand, these are tools that can be used to prevent outsiders from knowing where it is you're going on the internet. And it's, they've been used for various reasons, and those reasons, of course, are going to be as varied as the number of people that use them. And I'm not making a judgment on people that use VPNs. There are many good reasons for doing so. But Apple can't circumvent the law in other countries just to make a stand on a principle like this, because you can't really compare a tool that can hack into the operating system with VPNs, with an application that you would use for a VPN. It's not even the same thing. So that's my opinion. That's where I stand on that. And sure, I guess I'm an Apple fanboy. I do multiple Apple and Mac related things. But I would say the same thing if it was Google. I would say the same thing if it was Samsung. I would say the same thing regardless of the company. You don't compromise the basic security of all of your users, for something like that. Anyway, that's going to be it for tonight, I think. If you would like to get a hold of me, you can reach me, guy at mttfgo.com. I can also be reached, Mac Parrot, on the Twitters, and our Skype telephone number, which is area code 703-436-9501. That number again is 703-436-9501. And if there are topics that you would like me to talk about, let me know. If this is pretty much an open forum. It doesn't have to be my personal little soapbox. So I think with that, let me find where it is. Ooh, got my closing credits. I hopefully, now remember, I'm having dental surgery next Monday. So hopefully I'll be recovered enough by Wednesday to do another show. If not, I will let you know in one way or another. And hopefully I will see you next week. Thanks for dropping in.